In this lesson, we are going to be multiplying and dividing rational expressions. As a quick review, the first thing we want to look at is how to factor the following. Hopefully this will be an easy review for most of you. If you're having a hard time with this, now is the time to catch up. So this will factor in x plus 6 and x minus 1. The next one we can factor into x minus 2 and x minus 1. And the bottom, we can take out a common factor of 3x, which will leave us 4x plus 3. Again, simple, easy review, but we must do it. The next page is going to seem very redundant, but we have to go through it because you would be surprised at how many mistakes we see in this area. So 6 over 21, we can factor out a 3 and get a 2. And again in the bottom, 3 times 7. Because we are multiplying here, we are able to cancel out the 3's in both the numerator and the denominator to leave us with just 2 sevenths. But what about over here? We have a 2 in the top and a 2 in the bottom. Can't we just say, oh, it's just 3? No. Never, ever, ever do that. Up on top, we are adding. These are add-ins of one another. We cannot cancel anything out because there should be parentheses around them, even though it doesn't look like there is. So this is just as it looks, 5 over 2, which is not equal to 3. And below, similar but different, we have two 3's up here. So this would be the same thing as writing 2 times 3 divided by 3. Again, we are multiplying all of our terms here and dividing, so we are able now to cancel those 3's out, and we're just left with 2. Now we are going to use what we know and bring this into the rational expressions, and we're going to simplify. So the top is just as simplified as it's going to get, 4x squared. The base, we can take out a common factor of 4x, and we're left with x squared plus 3. Notice that we are multiplying and dividing all of our terms except for what's inside the parentheses. So what is outside of the parentheses we are able to cancel. We have 4's here, we have 2 x's up here and 1 down here, so we can take 1 out. So we're simply left with x over x squared plus 3. Over here we'll have to factor both ends. The numerator will factor into x minus 6 and x plus 1, and the denominator will factor into x minus 1 and x plus 1. Notice we are multiplying and dividing each of our expressions here. So because we have parentheses around both of these x plus 1's, we can cancel them out, and we are left with just x minus 6 over x minus 1. Next thing we're going to look at is multiplying the rational expressions. So we're not just simplifying anymore, we're actually multiplying them across. Now what we can do is, instead of just simplifying from the numerator and denominator, since we're multiplying, we can now simplify across. So here we'll notice that we have x squared here, cancel those out. We'll have a 6 and an 18, so 6 goes into 6 once, and 6 goes into 18 3 times, so we'll have a 3 left here. 2 and 10 can simplify down to just 5 in the numerator. Here we have y squared and y cubed, so we can take 2 out of the top and just be left with 1y. Here we have y to the fourth and y squared, so we can cancel these 2 from the bottom and we're just left with 2 on the top. So if you can sift through all of your notes here, we're going to be left with y over 1 times 5x cubed y squared over 3. Now that it's all simplified, it'll be much easier to multiply across. So we are left with 5x cubed y cubed all over 3. And that, you'll see, is in simplest form. If you did happen to forget something, now would be the time to cancel those out and rewrite it in simplest form. So, moving on, we have I'm going to take a negative 3x out of here because I like it when the x squared is first. So if we take out a negative 3x, we're going to have negative 1 plus 9x squared, which we know can be written as 9x squared minus 1, but I'm just going to leave it in this form so nobody gets confused right away. The base, can we factor? Base can be factored into 3x plus 1 and x minus 1. And up here we can factor 3x minus 1 and x minus 1. And we have 3x in the base. Now the reason that we wanted to make this a positive here is because we can also factor what's within. So we now have negative 3x times 3x plus 1 and 3x minus 1 over 3x plus 1 times x minus 1 times 3x minus 1 times x minus 1 over 3x. Now, we can only cancel what's in the parentheses or what's being multiplied. So this can be in a parenthesis because those terms are being multiplied. This can be a parenthesis. You can use a different color to cancel things out here. So we have a negative 3x and a 3x here. Cancel those and we're left with a negative 1. 3x plus 1's can go. X minus 1's can go. And we are left with 3x minus 1 times 3x minus 1. Because we are in the numerator, those can't cancel. But if we bring this negative 1 over, now we have negative 1 times 3x minus 1 squared. And that is in simplest form. Okay, the next thing we're going to factor here, notice that we only have one expression here, but we know that if we're multiplying, that's just over 1, so that's fine. And so we have in parentheses, so we don't forget not to cancel anything out of it, x plus 2. We can take out a cube from each of these. And if you don't quite remember how to factor a cubic, we'll do a little reminder here. So if we remember the formula from above, if we have a cubed plus b cubed, we have the cube root of 27 is 3, cube root of x cubed is x, plus 2 times 3 squared is 9, x squared minus a times b, which is 6x, plus b squared, which is 4. Okay, and then we have times 9x squared minus 6x plus 4 over 1. How convenient. We can cancel these terms out. So we are just left with x plus 2 over 3x plus 2. Next, we're going to move on to dividing the rational expressions. And if you remember, when we divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. So this is the same as saying 3 over 4x minus 8 times x squared plus x minus 6 all over x squared plus 3x. We just flipped this around to multiply by the reciprocal. So if we then factor this other side, we're going to get 3 over, take a 4 out of the base, we get x minus 2, times, if we factor this top, we can get x plus 3 and x minus 2 all over x times x plus 3. So if we factor now, we can take out the x minus 2's and the x plus 3's, and we are just left with 3 over 4x. Dividing, very similar to multiplying, just don't forget to flip and multiply by the reciprocal. So again, if we're dividing this next one, remember, this is still over 1. So when we flip and multiply by the reciprocal, we're going to have to take it times 1 over this. So if we factor first, in the numerator for our first fraction, we are going to factor it into 4x and 2x. And to get the 10 in the middle, we're going to want a -1 here and a +3 here, all over 4x squared, and times 1 over x times 4x minus 1. Okay, so notice that we have a 4x minus 1 here and here. We can cancel those. Because there is nothing left to cancel, we are left with 2x plus 3 times 1 we know is just 2x plus 3. Make sure you keep those parentheses so you're not forgetting that you should not be canceling anything from those. 4x squared times x is just 4x cubed. So that is our final answer. Nothing more we can cancel out of any of those. And for our last example, we're getting a little bit trickier here. We want to simplify everything. But what we want to do is we just want to take it one step at a time so we know we don't forget anything. So I'm going to do these first two terms first. If we multiply those out, we are going to get x times, keeping this in the numerator, 2x plus 3, all over, in parentheses, so we don't forget, x minus 2. And then, if we multiply by this reciprocal, we will get x minus 2 on the top and 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3 if we factor this out. So if you notice here, we have an x minus 2x minus 2, 2x plus 3 here. We are simply left with x over 2x minus 3. Again, keep those parentheses so you don't forget. Those can't be simplified. Simplest form. Quick review here. Simplifying, if we have AC over BC, we can cancel these C's to just get A over B. Multiplying across, we just get A times C over B times D. Dividing, remember we're multiplying by the reciprocal, so now we get AD over BC. And that is the end of the lesson.